Cloudcast Media. Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, and before we introduce our guest here, I want to give a shout out to my co-host, Kristen Fogel. She's the executive director of San Diego Writers, Inc., and it's been a wonderful job, and she'll be doing this indefinitely, which I'm thrilled
forever
with.
and ever. Thank you, Drew.
I hope so, and she has a great business too, if you have a chance to memoirs and novels and poems and anthologies and all that business. San Diego Writers Inc. at Liberty Station. We are joined by my former good friend, Steve Breen. And and I'm teasing when I say this, as we've been doing this now for 17 years, and we always ask our guests to fill out a questionnaire. What do they want to talk about? It's not about, us telling them what to talk about. What do the guests? And Steve has won 2 Pulitzer Prizes, and he says because he's won
amazing.
2 Pulitzer, it's phenomenal.
So he gets a pass, maybe.
Well, he thinks he does, that he doesn't have to fill out a questionnaire. And so I just made up a name for what his topic is going to be, and I called it The World of Steve Breen and made him CEO. And Kristen, tell me.
Yeah, so this morning, in this very short time that I've been co-hosting this podcast, I get up with my coffee at 6 a.m., I look at the guest list, want to get to know a little bit about them. And so Steve Breen, CEO of The World of Steve Breen. I looked up on a few different searches and I was like, it must be brand new. I don't know what this is. It doesn't exist, apparently. No. It's just a placeholder. So thank you, Drew, for not giving me that information.
I just wanted to see if you were going to do your due diligence.
I did.
We actually are building The World of Steve Breen up by Temecula. We just got to settle on the land.
It's a theme park.
Yeah, it's a theme park.
That's so great.
Very ages from what? My age, like from
4 to 94.
4 to 94. That's very good. No, Steve Breen and I have been longtime friends and colleagues. I'm honored to call them both in that aspect. At the San Diego Union-Tribune, I was there for many, many years. 25. How long were you at the UT?
22
years, right? And just recently, retired from there, but not retired from what he's doing. He's still a well sought after editorial cartoonist. You're still doing some things for how many different publications? I know Mike is doing one.
I do a little for outlets here and there. My stuff's syndicated,
right,
with creators in Los Angeles. I do a weekly cartoon for Michael Smirkonish of CNN.
Right.
I'm still doing books. I'm still doing all kinds of stuff. A little bit consulting.
Right.
So I'm busy as ever, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. And you've written how many books?
Somewhere around 10.
10 books, right?
When someone sighs like that it's a large number. It's never. It's got to be greater than 3 if you sigh like that.
And that was that sigh like a humble brag, like
it was just I've lost count.
Yeah,
I'm prolific.
It's because I've illustrated most of them, but I have. I've written and illustrated most of them, but I've only there's been a couple where I've just illustrated.
Gotcha.
You see, yeah,
right.
Yes,
So,
it's hard to quantify.
are they all children's books? Right? No,
most are children's books. A couple humor books in there.
Right. Exactly. And you did a comic strip for a while too, didn't you?
Yeah. That was Grand Avenue,
right?
And I did that for 7 years or so, 7 or 8 years, and then passed it off to another cartoonist who
is continuing it,
and he still does it. It's with Universal U-Click. It used to be Universal Press Syndicate.
Right, exactly. So, Steve was gracious enough to come on one of the talks, National University's done a great speaker series the last several years, and I've been fortunate enough to moderate some of them. And there was one with Steve not too long ago, and he, talked about the world of editorial cartooning. Of course, the history of it goes back to many, many, many years. Actually, down to the Ben Franklin papers, correct?
Yeah.
But talk about this. I was trained as a journalist, of course, and things are changing in our world, are they not?
Oh yeah. It's much different now than it was when I started.
Right, exactly. And, is there a place for editorial cartoonists moving forward?
Oh, I think so. Yes. It's more challenging because it seems like everyone's skin is thinner these days.
Right.
But absolutely, I think there's going to be an appetite for a static image. I mean, I do animated GIFs, and I think people like to see movement and video and animation, and there's a place for that. But I think just a static image that crystallizes something in the news, and let's face it, we're always going to have news, right?
That's right.
News is not going to go away. And there's always going to be this desire to see, to have an artist take all the different elements of that news story and put it into one image with some kind of editorial bent.
Right. Exactly. Kristen, are you a newspaper reader, or were you a newspaper reader? Are you still a newspaper reader?
These are a lot of questions. I like newspapers. I love, tactile things. I come from a magazine editor background. Very, very small, all defunct now, so nothing crazy. But yeah, I love print. I love all of that. I just hope it does not go away entirely.
It's so sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like for us who grew up with magazines and newspapers, and for young people to hear us talking, we'd sound like dinosaurs. But just the world of newsstands and
I know. I was just thinking, just seeing, even like a Barnes and Noble, how it's shrunk over the years. It used to be this like large swath, this huge wall, and now you can get maybe the Atlantic, maybe one type of magazine or print, and it's just so sad.
When one of my favorite things as an editorial cartoonist coming up when I was younger was Time and Newsweek magazine would reprint editorial cartoons.
Right.
And Newsweek had a whole page, the perspectives page. And it was 3 cartoons and then quotes from newsmakers of the day. But it was 3 editorial cartoons. So every Monday when the the magazine came out, we would all call each other. Who made it? Who got a Newsweek this week?
That's fun.
And so, so-and-so got 2 in this week. Or, and there was a newsstand on the Parkway in New Jersey, and I would get up. I think I would go on Sunday night to this newsstand because they got an early batch from printing where it was printed. And I would look and see who made Newsweek before anyone else. But anyway, that's an exercise of a bygone era.
Oh,
yeah. Well, listen, and we've talked about this before, Steve. We're chatting with Steve Breen, a 2-time Pulitzer Prize winning editorial cartoonist, most recently with the San Diego Union-Tribune. I'm Drew Schlosberg. You're listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year here.
Amazing.
It started at the Union-Tribune, Steve, as you know.
Yeah.
2007, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, San Diego Writers Inc., so it's all about writing and so forth. But I agree with you. Listen, there's always going to be people that are going to be needed to, like what you do as editorial cartoonist. This is your perspective of what is going on. And when we chatted with a group at National University, we had to delineate, this is what happens. Editorial cartoonist, you can pretty much write what you want to write. Now, that being said, you have an editor that would take a look at it. But very rarely did that editor change what you put in, correct?
Right. They would tweak it.
Okay.
But they wouldn't change it. When they start changing it or wanting to change it, that's when you got to just say, all right, this isn't working. Let's try something else. Because, all the crafting an editorial cartoon really does take the better part of a day. And it's one of those things that looks easy, but it's really not. And if you start taking elements out of a cartoon or changing things around, usually the thing just falls apart. It's kind of like a house. If you take out a load-bearing wall that you might not think is needed, it's just the place is going to fall apart.
Right, exactly on it. But think about that. You did about 240. How many cartoons did you do each year? Is that about right?
About that, yeah.
And the fact that we were talking about this on the show, Kristen, and listen, we all know there's, writers have challenges too with deadlines and all that. They got to meet these things. But this is a daily deal. And if I would sit there and be panicked and just sit there and go, I give up and cry, and I'd be in a fetal position, and that would be me in the editorial cartoon. But listen, how you did it and how you did it so creatively is just amazing. I mean, I know it's part of the job, and sometimes when you hit 4:59, you got to get something in at 5, correct?
Yeah. I know.
And how do you maintain that creativity? I mean, did you have a rhythm or a routine, or places you would? What do you do when you're stuck like that?
Yeah, when I first started, and it's like, be careful what you wish for, right? It was my goal to be a full-time editorial cartoonist, 5 a week, 5 cartoons a week. And when I finally got my job, whatever I was, 24, and it was terrifying. Like, my goodness, I've done this sporadically and here and there, or, when the spirit moved me, and I would kind of build up this portfolio. But now you want me to do 5 a week.
The spirit must move you right now,
right.
all of the time, every second.
It's a treadmill. So it's like anything else in life, you get used to it.
Yes.
And you figure out ways to survive. And so most days I would come up with something. I would come up with 4 or 5 roughs. So, and I would present them to my editor. He would pick the best one. But some days I wouldn't have anything at 3 or 4 in the afternoon. And panic sometimes would produce a cartoon. Desperation and panic. And then some days I'd be able to use a cartoon that wasn't picked from the day before. I would use a rough idea. Oh, okay. And that was nice, yeah.
Right. And, and I think one of the challenges, of course, is, and certainly there's certain people that you're going to draw more, and we've had other editorial cartoonists we've chatted with. Certainly the president is someone that's going to be drawn a lot, no matter who the president is. Some probably lend themselves to more drawing than others, right? Exactly. But that's nothing new and so forth. Talk a little bit about the controversial nature of what you folks do, because your job is to, I remember your predecessor used to say this, Steve Kelly, you sort of want to get a kick in the pants with some people, because that's, get people to pay attention to what's going on, correct?
Yes.
Have you ever gone too far?
I think a couple times I have.
Yeah.
But again, going back to what you say, having a good editor.
That's right.
It helps pull you back onto the tracks. And then having good internal filters, you develop them over time, and you think, no, this is not going to fly, or people are going to be all over me if I say this.
Right.
You kind of learn that.
Right. We come back from break. I want to talk more about Steve. What's up next? And about with all the creativity he's got in his mind, and certainly all the curiosity, what he's looking at doing, what he is doing. I know there may be some opportunities for us here at Cloudcast Media, and you were very excited about as well. But with your talent and what you've done, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of doors that are going to be opened up when we return with Steve Breen, 2-time Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist. I'm Drew Schlosberg. Listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, joined by my phenomenal co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of San Diego Writers, Inc. We will be right back.
When you do your banking with Mission Fed, you get great rates on auto and home loans. That's good for you, but something good also happens for a lot of other people. We're not for profit, so we put money back into the community to help lots of great nonprofits to keep San Diego strong. So you're not just getting something good, you're doing something good. Come to Mission Fed. It's banking that's good for all.
Brand amplification is the DNA of Cloudcast Media, and our code is the powerful blending of sound, voice, and storytelling to lift local brands and their communities. Whether it is our Brandcast, Schoolcast, or Causecast platforms, the unifying ethos is all about this community, the one you call home. If you dare to dream and want to explore the brand amplification of Cloudcast, a national leader in local podcasting and other Winfluence strategies, please visit us at cloudcast.us.
I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year, brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union. We're broadcasting in the Mission Fed studios on Scripps Ranch, and Mission Federal Credit Union continuing to raise the bar for so many folks here in San Diego County, joined by my very cool co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director of the San Diego Writers, Inc., and Steve Breen, two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist. So, Steve, you've been cartooning for a long time. You're going to continue to cartoon, but you got so much creativity and curiosity in that brain of yours and talent. What's next?
I will probably still do some editorial cartooning because I love it so much.
Right.
And like we say, the news is always with us. And I think putting in 22 years in journalism,
Right.
you kind of become a news junkie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Even when I'm on vacation, I'm checking headlines and phone alerts. I love creative problem solving.
Mm-hmm.
And I love working with a team. I know for a long time I'm sitting at my drawing table solo coming up with these things. But some of my favorite moments at the UT were working on special sections and projects with the team.
Right.
So I'd like to keep doing that, finding, different partners to work with. Creative problem solving. I love it.
Right. But, listen, the people are still reading papers online. Of course, they've been doing that for a while, right? And
Yeah.
And we know this is no different than Union-Tribune, and there's been discussion about this for a while, that eventually will be, some of the early morning or early week, I'd say, papers will probably go away, and they'll be digital. And some newspapers are doing that right now, but you're still going to have editorial cartoons, or cartoons going to be a big part of that aspect of it. Do you offer any workshops on how to cartoon?
Someone has asked me that. No, but that would be very interesting.
Right.
Because I love working with young people. I love it when college students call me who draw for their school paper.
Right.
And I look at their stuff and try to offer advice. And I'm kind of mentoring a young cartoonist at UCLA right now, and she's really talented. She's from San Diego. And she draws for the Daily Bruin. Drew,
Nice.
you'd be happy to.
Very happy about
Yeah.
that. I am.
And a lot of times these people, young people, they don't know they could do it until they have someone who's done it and has the experience telling them, you could do this. You're good at this. Keep doing this. Do a little more of this,
And I mean, also, what do you tell these people that are maybe not enrolled in a college program? Where do you start? How do you, how do you get going with something like that?
Well, luckily, the internet or the social media makes it a lot easier. Like,
Sure.
When I was starting, I wish that I had a thing like Instagram,
Right.
where I could just post a cartoon and anyone in the world can see it. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So starting there is a good place for them.
Okay.
So one of the things that was really cool about the National University talk, you had to show some of your cartoons, some of your favorite cartoons on this. And, the ones that I think the listeners would know the most is one you got a lot of attention to. And that's right after 9/11. Describe that cartoon.
Yeah, the Eagle cartoon I did is probably my most famous cartoon. It ran right after 9/11. It ran on 9/13. So the one I did on the 12th was the day was the cartoon I drew on 9/11 because they run a day later.
Right.
And that was the Statue of Liberty hunched over, clutching her face in grief, and like 60 to 70% of the nation's editorial cartoonists drew that same cartoon.
Wow.
So for the
Including you.
including me,
Right.
because that's one of the things when a big breaking news story happens, a lot of ideas come to your mind, right? As a cartoonist,
Right.
and after you've been doing this a while, you quickly know what people are going to draw.
Right.
For instance, Jimmy Buffett died a couple
Right.
weeks ago, and I just knew that a bunch of cartoonists were going to draw like a crying parrot.
Right. Right. And they did.
And a bunch did. And so I thought to myself, as soon as I heard the news, I am not drawing a crying parrot. Let's try to take it up a notch. Let's see what else we could come up with.
Right.
So it was the same thing on 9/11, but I don't know. I couldn't resist drawing Lady Liberty hunched over in grief. I mean, I wasn't sure that a bunch of other cartoonists were going to draw that, but I just couldn't resist drawing it because it was just so natural and fitting.
In New York.
In New York, right there in New York Harbor, and she's looking all day long. She looks at the Twin Towers. So for 9/13, this cartoon, I drew an eagle with a determined look on his face, and he's sharpening his talons. Because it was a different mood by a day or two later, you know?
Yeah, and then the next popular one is when we went to war and that eagle was taking off, right?
Right, a sequel to that. It was the eagle in flight, the stool that he was sitting on, and the file kind of on the ground in the foreground, and then in the distance you see him flying off to go take care of business.
Yeah, but people remember those things. And listen, I know it was very iconic. How many papers picked up that one of the sharpening the talons?
Yeah, hundreds, and it kind of took on a life of its own.
Correct.
You know, like I supported the military action in Afghanistan.
Right.
You know, I mean, to take out those terror camps and
correct.
I wasn't into the whole nation building idea, but right then, the goal was, we got to go and take out Al Qaeda in Afghanistan. But that cartoon was used to kind of support this continuing war in Afghanistan, and then it was used at pro-war rallies and with military personnel for the invasion of Iraq, which I didn't support 2 years later in 2003 or so. I just thought that, I didn't like Saddam Hussein, but I did not want to go and invade that country.
A country we didn't even invade because we already had 10,000 folks over there keeping an eye on them, and which was so true in that aspect of it. We're chatting with Steve Breen, 2-time Pulitzer Prize-winning editorial cartoonist. I'm Drew Schlosberg of Cloudcast Media, joined by co-host Kristen Fogel, executive director of San Diego Writers Inc. Steve, I was talking about, and every time I'm with you, I have to do this. He's rolling his eyes. You can't see it through the internet. What is my favorite cartoon you've done?
Well, you love the oil series.
Yeah, could you explain?
So the Deepwater Horizon spill, 2010, a lot of oil spewing out of the broken well.
Right.
At
British petroleum, right?
In the Gulf. And I thought I wanted to do something different. So I booked a flight to New Orleans, drove over to Alabama and the Florida Panhandle, and I called, I don't know how I got his name, but I found a geologist, someone at a local university in the Gulf area, and I talked to him, and I asked him where the best beaches would be to collect oil. And he said, you got to be careful because there's a lot of government people on the beaches who aren't going to let you near the sand to collect stuff. So he kind of told me where to go. And I went to these beautiful beaches down there in that part of the country. And I think I ended up at Santa Rosa Island on the Florida Panhandle. And the sand is like this white sugar. But then there were hundreds of these pancake size, and some were like the size of doormats, oil blobs. And anyway, I took some of them, put them in Tupperware, and brought them home. When I got back to California, I thinned them out with gasoline, this chunky, sandy oil from the spill, and I made my own kind of sepia-colored, brownish-colored paint. And I used that paint to do a series of cartoons on America's dependence on oil, the British petroleum, and the wildlife and the jobs that were affected. So a series of cartoons on the spill done with the actual oil.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's his creativity. Yeah. It's phenomenal. So, Steve, someone listening to the cartoon interview here, or you're interested, say, and they go, I want to chat with this guy. I might want to have him, do some work for us. I may want to have him consult for us. I may want to. How do they get hold of you?
Well, I guess my email, Breen. That's my old one. Hold on.
Should they call your agent Drew Schlosberg?
Yeah, who gets 40% like Colonel Tom Parker.
Exactly right.
It's really unfair. No, Drew, I'd love to have you as my agent. It's Steve Breen 100 gmail.com. stevebreen100@gmail.com.
Right. Do you, when you're Writers Inc., do you talk about cartooning at all? Is that part of the thing you do, or not really?
We don't, but I mean, it's fascinating. It's a great art form. We have, I think it's IDW that's across from us.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, we've always wanted to partner with them. And I mean, it's just so accessible too, right? Like you were talking about the Instagrammable sort of nature of that. So I would love to offer something like that. It seems like it will be even more prevalent as people are turned away from reading long form news or whatever else. So yeah.
I think so.
All right, so good. I got you a job, and I'll take 40% of what Kristen will pay you. So that's zero. No, in all seriousness, I think that would be a great offer.
I really do. I think it would be amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what I like about Kristen? Well, many things, but what I think is so cool is that you have a radio voice. So you're talented with the writing, but you also have the voice.
Oh, thanks. I'm a performer as well. So
you are.
Yes.
So you're like a triple.
So I'm theatrical, but no math. So I can't do that.
No, me neither.
You know, I actually had a question too, one creative to the other. I'm always promoting in my classes, and tell me if you agree or just if I'm totally off base. I always tell them that, it's consistency and not necessarily writing or doing this creative work when, the inspiration strikes you. Do you agree with that? It seems like you are constantly just at the desk trying to bang it out like that. Is that true?
Yeah. I guess it's consistency through necessity because it's the nature of the beast, but doing it all the time helps you get better and helps you improve.
Yeah.
Yeah. I used to have a friend who would say it's butt in the seat. Get your butt in that seat and just start doing it.
I, too, am a fan of butt in the seat.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I had a friend who was a writer that said, just get words on paper. If you stare at the paper, the words aren't going to pop out.
You cannot edit nothing.
Put the words on paper. And I used to tell people that, I used to be a sports columnist a billion years ago. And then I read some of my past columns and I go, I'm illiterate. How the heck did that thing even get published, for God's sake?
You should see some of my early magazine writing.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
And it takes you a while to warm up, like your brain, your mood, everything. I used to, you mentioned that comic strip I did, Grand Avenue.
Exactly.
So I'd be so busy with my editorial cartooning and other things in my family.
Right.
I had a bunch of kids, I still do, and during the week. So my wife would have me go to Kinko's, where it was quiet every Saturday, and try to bang out a whole week worth of comic strip.
Oh my goodness.
7. I've tried, the goal would be to do 7 at Kinko's in one day. And I would get there, and it would take me like 3 hours minimum to warm up. I would just be staring at paper, doodling, nothing. And she'd call me, how you doing? I haven't drawn anything yet. I'm just, sketching.
I'll be home in 3 weeks.
Right.
Yeah.
But then something would click around, I don't know, noon or 1, and I would just have more ideas than I knew what to do with. And then it would be a matter of like production, like actually drawing the cartoons and getting them on in the frames and so on.
No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Steve, shout out your email one more time for those folks who want to connect with you.
Steve Breen 100, the number 100.
Very, very good.
Yeah. At gmail.com.
At gmail.com. Well, listen, always a delight to have you on, and looking forward to doing more things with you at Cloudcast. You're just a good guy. You're very creative. You're good for San Diego, and hopefully you're going to stick around here for many years to come.
Thanks a lot, Drew. Thank you. And thank you, Kristen.
Thank you.
I'm Drew Schlosberg. You've been listening to another edition of Drew Schlosberg Spotlight on the Community Show, the nation's longest-running community podcast, now in our 17th year. Honored to have Steve Breen, 2-time Pulitzer Prize winner, on the deck with us today, joined by my co-host, Kristen Fogel, Executive Director for San Diego Writers Inc. We hope you enjoyed the show.
You've been listening to an episode of Drew Schlosberg's Spotlight on the Community Show, amplifying the voices of social impact organizations, entrepreneurs, local nonprofits, and other community champions who shape the culture, creativity, and connectivity of San Diego community. Brought to you by Mission Fed Credit Union, bringing good things to San Diego for over 60 years. Learn more about what is good for you and good for all by visiting www.missionfed.com.
Cloudcast Media.